Hello, friends. Welcome back to A Stillness. Today we are doing something a little different, doing kind of a short and sweet episode. This is a kind of episode that I've had the idea to do for quite a while and just haven't till this very moment. So this will be going up late on the same day as the Capricorn new moon, but I do so love keeping track of the seasons, lunar rituals. And when I say lunar rituals, I don't just mean menstruating or like a group of women dancing underneath the moon, though I'm totally down for that. What I mean is the seasons and how they are reflected astrologically is something that has been going on since humankind. The very first calendars that we have in archaeology or anthropology, I guess, depending on how you measure that, are a tracking system for 28 days on a bone. As far as we know, for the vast majority of human history, we have measured our months and our seasons and our time by the stars and the sun and the moon and how they all interact together. So whether or not you consider yourself an astrology person, whether or not you consider yourself much of a ritual person, I'm hoping that you can still see the benefit of a practice that is deeply connected to the earth and how the earth cycles. Now, full disclosure, I am recording this from a very specific spot on Earth, right? So my personal interpretations and connections with the season may not resonate with all of you. I am in the Northern Hemisphere. I am in the center of the United States in a lot of ways. I'm actually technically slightly east, but I am in central Illinois. And if you were to look up Illinois on a global map, you would see that it's kind of the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a larger nowhere in many, many ways. Technically, we have Chicago, so we're not nowhere. Like, it's not like nobody's heard of us, but as far as just a day-to-day life in central Illinois, it does kind of feel like we're in the middle of a little bit of nothing, in the middle of a little bit more of nothing, in the middle of a great nation of nothing. And I mean that with all love and respect to the place where I live. But it also means that I'm extremely blessed here to still have a deep connection with the earth. We still experience all four seasons. The running joke is that we experience all four seasons in the same week. Thank you, climate change. And I do have access to the outdoors in a way that a lot of other people living in what would be considered an urban environment do not. So I'm able to forage from my own backyard. I am able to basically drive 10 minutes in any direction and come across a park with hiking trails. I am very, very easily able to access local foods grown on local farms any time of year. So I realize that in this sense, my connection with the earth and the seasons and the cycles of a given year is going to be different than other people. But what I'm hoping to offer in these episodes is just a little energetic check-in. Again, whether or not the astrology specifically resonates with you, whether or not the Wheel of the Year specifically resonates with you, I do think that it benefits every human to stop and take a moment to connect with where the earth is at, where we are at on the earth, and how our own cycles of life are intersecting with the earth's cycles and seasons of life. So there is a new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of the sea goat. So it's technically an earth sign. We're technically all about grounding and that which is very physical and tangible this season. However, there's also a little bit of wateriness kind of underneath the surface, if you will, of this earth sign. This is a season that is known to be all about power and systems, often translated also to money, because what better intersection of that which is fluid, but also physical and tangible, that impacts power and systems than money? So if the practice of a new moon resonates with you, I'm going to invite you to check in. Where are you right now? We're in the first month of the year. Where are you physically? I just went into a lengthy discussion of where I am physically. Where are you physically? How is your body clothed? Is it cold where you live? Are you wearing extra layers? And what is the physicality of your life? What are the power and systems and struggles around those things in your world right now? A new moon in Capricorn could be considered a really auspicious time to make a budget, to tackle a problem, or in some other way to take tangible steps to improve a system or situation that's around you. Today, I am personally going through a couple drawers and shelves that are no longer functioning. I have some like open shelving, some baskets that are like in open shelving. And at one point in time, they served a very helpful, useful purpose. The baskets that I'm specifically thinking of are kind of the catch-all baskets where my spouse has one and I have one. And so anytime that either of us are just like walking around the house or realize that we're holding onto something, but we don't have time to like put it away or deal with it right now, we'll just put it in whomever's respective basket. But then, of course, at some point you have to go through the baskets. And I have not gone through mine in a very long time. And I noticed the other day that it is absolutely way more full than my spouse's, probably because he goes through his about once a week at the end of his work week. And I don't, because my work week isn't divided perhaps quite so obviously as his is. And so today, my new moon ritual is nothing fancy. It's going through this basket, going through this system that is supposed to work for me instead of giving me stress, and putting things back in their place, dealing with things that have sunk to the bottom of the basket, and starting afresh there. If I'm feeling really motivated, there's also a specific shelf or two in my bathroom cupboard that I'll be going through later as well. I bring up this personal example not because it's some epitome of like perfect ritual, but because this is part of why I personally love connecting with the astrological and cyclical seasons of the earth and the earthling experience. Because I think oftentimes we think that ritual is like burning a candle, smudging, lighting some incense, basking under the new moon or full moon, depending on who you ask, and doing all of these journal prompts. And it can be those things. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of all of those things. But then in many ways, the ritual becomes just another thing that we feel like we spiritually have to keep on top of. And there's something about new moons in particular to me that are just a little bit more practical. Traditionally, a new moon is a time to start afresh. It is the reminder that even the moon herself takes a couple nights off every month. It's a time to rest, it's a time to recoup, it's a time to reset. The full moon, in contrast, is a time where everything is brought to light. You can think of it as things that were in the dark, things that were once in the shadows, are now illuminated. They're now pulled forward. We're now able to see them. So in this sense, a lot of people who promote lunar rituals or just connecting with the moon cycles will say that new moons are a good time to set intentions and then to build up your plans around those intentions as the moon gains more light, And then at the full moon to celebrate any accomplishments from the intentions that you set back at the new moon. And that can be a really practical way to go about lunar ritual. If you're completely new to it, I do highly recommend a simple intention with the new moon, letting that intention grow, letting that habit change, whatever the case may be, until the full moon, which is approximately 2 weeks later. And in a given calendar year, typically every month of our modern calendar will have a new moon and a full moon. So it can be just nice checkpoints. But for me personally, full moons are something that I've already built a lot of ritual around and also a lot of community around. They aren't something I'm necessarily prepping for every new moon. But that offers up instead the new moon to be this really gentle, tangible, surprisingly practical little reset. And my reset for me today and the systems in my life today is reorganizing shelving and baskets. It's not particularly sexy. It's not gonna go viral on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, by the way, but I just felt the need to say that. But I think you know what I mean. It's not the kind of thing that looks aesthetic, but it is something that is truly important to me and how I function in my day-to-day life. So, if you are considering using the new moons as this very gentle way to check in, new moons also in many ways signify each season, because each astrological season has a new moon. So we are in Capricorn season, so the new moon right now is Capricorn. When we move into Aquarius season, the next new moon that we will have is Aquarius, in Aquarius, and so on and so forth. And if you remember from a previous episode, and it's also okay if you don't, because I'm going to tell you here again, every full moon, so when the moon is lit up and bright, it takes place in the astrological sign that is 6 months away. This is personally also why I don't necessarily build a whole lot of ritual into my new moons, because my full moons are a time that just feel a little bit more energetic and connective, and I like to use them for reflection, both reflection on where I was 6 months prior and reflection on where I hope to be in another 6 months. So I kind of do the intention thing a little bit backwards, but I also give myself way more than 2 weeks to accomplish those intentions. If that made no sense to you, feel free to disregard. I'm just explaining part of the cycles of the seasons and how it works astrologically. But my point is, new moons then can be simple, just a little reset. What in your own life around money, around power, around systems, around the things that are both fluid, that offer exchange, like money, like energy, like assets, while also being physical, tangible, directly impacting our well-being on a day-to-day level? What in that kind of category of thing would you perhaps like to reset today or this week? Would it feel good in your own breath and body and being to do something simple and to treat it like a ritual, helping remind your nervous system that the mundane is also sacred? I'm not here at all to shame anybody who wants to make their moon cycles or anything else a big deal. Please make things a big deal and have your big rituals and light all of your candles and do all of your prayers and make your sigils and burn your herbs and brew your tea, whatever that needs to be for you. There are seasons of life where we just need that, or we need something that feels so sacred and a little bit extra. And I'm also going to suggest that we don't need to do that all of the time. We don't need to make a big deal out of that, which is
cyclical in the first place. Like, it's going to come around again. The opportunity for ritual is going to come around again. I also bring this up because personally, I feel like there is very much a market around this. There's the like witchy girl aesthetic. And again, I'm not shaming anybody who bought crystals last month. I also bought crystals this month. However, consider this just a loving reminder that rituals historically, just like these seasons historically, have been relatively simple. They've been gentle resets, perhaps connection, perhaps community, several times a year for sure, if you look at the wheel of the year. But it's not constant. It's not every lunar cycle. So I invite you to find the rituals that feel intuitive for you, the ones that make the most amount of sense for you, and to, in whatever ways you want or need, to take the things that could be mundane, that could be so day to day, and to view them as things worth investing in. Because they are, and because you are someone whose life is worth investing in. Even if it's as simple as cleaning out a basket. So I wish you the happiest of new moon. Let's take a couple deep breaths together. And when you're ready to tune everything out, including me, and go take care of the systems that mean a lot to you.